Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
Hello everyone, I'm Monique, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator. Joining us is the new mayor of Monterey, California, Tyller Williamson. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So Tyler, introduce yourself and please tell us a little bit about your background and experience.
Yeah, so again, my name is Tyler Williamson. I just was elected recently to be the next mayor in the city of Monterey in California. And so I was first elected to the city council in 2018. So I've been serving on the council for the last 4 years. And, you know, if I were to go into my background quickly here for you, I would say that my mom served in the Navy for 20 years. So I've never lived anywhere for more than 4 years my entire life until I moved to the Monterey Peninsula in 2010. So I've lived here now for about 12 years. Met my partner in 2015. We bought our house in Monterey in 2017. And it's just a beautiful place to live. So I'd encourage anybody to come out and visit us. We have the world famous Monterey Bay Aquarium. We have the Monterey Bay Marine Sanctuary here. It's just a beautiful slice of paradise on planet Earth, and I just feel super fortunate to be here. But if I were to describe my background and how I got involved in politics, I really was never interested in politics until 2008. I was in community college at the time. I had an amazing professor in a critical thinking class. But I also saw somebody that was running for office that looked like me, and that was super inspirational. And I just kind of leaned in a little bit and like, what is going on here? And there was something else about Obama, which is his ability to be able to bring people together with diverse experiences and backgrounds. And so I was just really inspired by him, and I signed up to volunteer on his campaign in 2008. But I didn't get as involved as I wanted to because I was going to school full time. I was working 2 jobs. So I committed to myself that when his campaign came around in 2012 for his reelection, that I would step up and get more involved. And that's what I did. 2012 came, I signed up for his fellowship program, got accepted into that. They tasked me with coming back to Monterey and creating the first neighborhood team in the entire county. Got that going, it grew really quick. And then 3 weeks into that, they offered me a position on the campaign. And I ultimately was responsible for the Obama campaign out of the San Francisco headquarters. So, and I'll take a little pause in the story here and share that's actually at the point in my life where I came out. They put the office smack dab in the middle of the Castro. And so met my first male partner there. And so all this to say, I had to figure out, you know, how I was going to work out my life coming back to Monterey post-election. And one of the things about Obama and his campaign is it's very centered around community organizing. So I had took those community organizing skills that I had learned during my Obama years and brought them back down to Monterey and helped co-found Monterey Peninsula Pride in 2017. So every year since 2017, we've been hosting a Pride in the region. Even during the pandemic in 2020 and 2021, we did a virtual event just so that we can keep it going and create that space for the queer community to come together and be celebrated. So between Pride and just other things that I was involved with in the community, and kind of leading to what caused me to step up and run for office in the first place, I heard a lot of elected leaders running for office or in office talking about the things that I valued and I appreciated. But when it came time to actually doing the work around those issues, I wasn't seeing anything getting done. Yeah. And so that's why I stepped up to run. And, you know, I was running against 2 incumbents. On the ballot, you vote for the top 2 council vacancies. You vote for the top 2 candidates, and the top 2 candidates win. And I was running against both of the incumbents, and I ended up beating them on election night. I was so far ahead of them that it was clear that I was going to win. In that second seat, it was not really sure who was going to be filling that. So I'm just super honored to have gotten so much support then. And ever since I've been in office, I've been doing the work. So I can talk more about that. I'll pause there for a second though. And yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me.
Wow.
Awesome, awesome. It is great to have you here so that we're able to talk about all of this. And we want to say congratulations because
Thank
your
you.
swearing in was very recent. So tell me about that swearing in ceremony. How did you feel, being sworn in as mayor of Monterey?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of mixed emotions. It was just such a great honor to have so much support from so many people in the community. So the city of Monterey has about 30,000 people in it. So it's relatively small, but when you look at our budget, we have a huge hospitality industry here. So we have a budget of almost $200 million, which is not typical for cities our size. And because of that large budget, we have a lot of programs. So all this to say, there's a lot going on in the city of Monterey, and just seeing how many people came out to be supportive, it's just been a great honor. I mean, I'm so humbled by the experience, and seeing people from different perspectives and points of view coming out to support me. Just giving you an example of that, a couple of my volunteers disagreed with me on some pretty critical issues in the community. One of the things that I really support is housing development, creating additional density. But there's a lot of disagreement on that in the community. But I had people support me despite that, because I think it's because they appreciate my ability to be able to bring people together with diverse points of views and background so that we can have that conversation together. All this to say, it was such an honor, and my family was there. My parents came out from upstate New York, where they're from, to be here for the day, and just being there with my loved ones and my supporters in the community. It was just such a great honor. So I'm really excited to get my sleeves rolled up here and get to work.
I know, especially since you got that big budget. Sounds
So I'm
good.
saying, you know what I'm
So,
saying?
yes, I was following your campaign, and you're right. You just brought so many people together. And some of the barriers that I was looking at, we're in different areas here. You're in the West Coast, I'm in the East Coast. But some of the things that we face are similar, especially access to affordable housing and you wanting to use public land for housing development on city-owned property. So I could see how some people might have a disagreement with you on that, but it's very respectable that you can get them on your side and see different points of view on that. You're really awesome when it comes to that point.
Yeah, I mean, one of the challenges that I think folks have that don't want development, and we see this across the country, right? This is anywhere. One of the challenges in the state of California that folks that have that perspective have is the state requires each jurisdiction in the state to come up with a housing element. And in that housing element, it happens every 8 years. And in that housing element, it's supposed to identify what our requirement for how many housing units we're supposed to be constructing over that 8-year period of time. What are the barriers to developing that housing? And what are we going to do to remove those barriers? And so because of that, we really have to focus on how do we loosen up restrictions around housing development so that we permit that, and then the state has to approve that plan. And so, I see the value in looking at housing from a supply and demand perspective. And in fact, when we talk about the high cost of housing, not just here on the central coast of California, but a lot of major cities throughout the country, the main issue that causes the high cost of housing is a supply and demand issue, is the lack of housing development.
Yes.
And if we're not going to provide housing for our communities as they're expanding, what happens is the most wealthiest people in the community will continue to outbid everybody else. And so that pushes up the cost of housing. And then everybody at the bottom gets pushed out. And then we wonder why we end up with homelessness. So we really need to make sure that we're taking care of everybody. And when we look at our main industry in the city of Monterey, which is hospitality, we have a lot of low-wage jobs in the hospitality industry. And we're finding that a lot of our workforce is having to move further and further away where they're commuting several hours just to get to work every day.
Right.
And then what we found even more recently is that people are just up and leaving the area because it's just too expensive.
Yeah.
And then that makes it harder for our hospitality business owners who are trying to retain talent within their workforce. So it all comes back. And then that
Definitely.
affects our ability to be able to increase revenue to support the services that we offer within the city. So we just need to take care of our community. And that was, I think, front and center of my messaging in my campaign. And I think that's what resonated with people.
Yeah, and speaking of taking care of the community, one of the things that's important for, any good thriving community is access to water. And since I moved out to California, that is something that is talked about all the time. And, saving water, having access to water, sustainable water. How is that in Monterey, and what are your plans when it comes to, water sustainability?
Yeah. So one interesting thing about our water supply here in the Monterey area is we're not connected to any major water system in the state. So we rely on our own water supply within our region. Our main source of water is from the Carmel River. The city of Carmel is just south of the city of Monterey. So that's been our main water supply for a long time. Our other major water supply is our aquifers, but a big issue throughout the state of California and other parts of the country as well is overdrafting our aquifers. We're drawing more than what's going in there, and eventually they end up empty. And so we needed to be able to find a way of increasing our water supply. Our water currently is owned by a monopoly, California American Water, or who we call CalAm. And we also pay the highest water bills in the entire country here on the Central Coast. And it's, I think, in a large part due to the fact that we have a private owned water utility. We see that 80% of jurisdictions throughout the country have a publicly owned water utility. So there was an effort when I ran for council in 2018 to look at the process of moving forward with the public takeover of our water supply. We're still going through that. As you can imagine, CalAm is doing everything that they can to try to keep power and keep control over our water supply. But all this to say that when we look at developing a long-term sustainable water supply in our region, they're wanting to develop a desalination plant, which is very energy intensive. It's very expensive. And that when we're already paying the highest water bills in the entire country, why would we go to an option that is going to be the most expensive option? And then the alternative to that, which I support, is a project called Pure Water Monterey. We've already developed that project. There's a proposal to expand that project further. And so I've been working hard behind the scenes and in the public to get that project to move forward. And the idea is that we take different source waters, including our wastewater, our stormwater runoff, and water from the ag industry. We're really close to the Salinas Valley. We call it the the salad bowl of the world. We provide food to lots of parts of the country and internationally. So from the ag industry, we take that wash water, we take all these different source waters, we put them through an advanced purification process, and we store that water in our aquifers to help recharge our aquifers. So that is more environmentally friendly. We're not discharging that polluted water out into the ocean, which would cause more acidification of the oceans. And it's also cheaper than desal. So to me, it's like a no-brainer, but there's obviously some political forces in the works that prevent us from moving forward in a positive way in that direction. So I could go on there, but that's kind of really the crux of our water supply issue.
Well, you may not know this, but where I live at in my district, we have the world's largest wastewater facility treatment plant right here. And we serve over 300 million gallons of wastewater a day. So if you want to have any type of information on how we clean our water so it can go back into the Chesapeake, anytime you're in our area, look me up and we can give you a tour.
I love
come
that.
And take some of their ideals.
I love it. Yeah. And that's how you have to do it, right? It's that collaboration. It's reaching out and understanding how people do it in other places. so that we can learn from each other. So I appreciate that. I'll definitely hit you up.
Okay.
Now, Mayor Williamson, you are the first Black person, first openly LGBTQ person, and the youngest person to be elected mayor of your city. Please share with us, what those distinctions really mean to you.
So what I tell folks is I didn't run to be the first Black, to be the first queer, to be the youngest person. I didn't run for those things, but representation really does matter. And I'll just kind of pause here for a second and say that when that phrase is used, I think a lot of people take it as a negative, because we quite often see people run in for elected office and use that to their advantage, but not do the work behind it. And to me, that's why the burden is all the much greater, because a lot of people come to anybody that's different in the community comes to me. Before I got elected mayor, all of my colleagues on the council, all 4 other people were straight old white men. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And so the picture that you're sharing now, the lady to the left, part of me deciding to run for mayor was trying to find somebody to fill my vacant council seat that I would be vacating by running for mayor. And I found her in the community. We did some work together. She decided to run for it, and
Awesome.
nobody decided to run against her, so she was uncontested. But I think it just shows how much work we've been doing in the community. And so I'm super honored to be coming onto the council with her. She just got sworn in with me recently. And so it's the first time ever. I was the first Black person to ever be elected to the council, but now this is the first time ever that there's been 2 Black people on the council. All this to say, we have to do the work, and people are depending on us to help advance a lot of these issues. We were talking about housing affordability earlier. Well, who are the people that tend to struggle with the affordability to housing the most? Well, it's Black and brown people. And when we look at the hospitality industry here, they're very reliant on particularly brown people to do those low wage jobs. And so we need to make sure that we're taking care of those people. Being queer is a really challenging thing here. People think that we're on the coast of California. We live in California. It's very blue. We're very advanced when it comes to queer rights, which is true to some extent. But we are a more rural area where I live. It's not a large city. And so there's a lot of conservative values here. When I started Pride in 2017, that first Pride that we had, one of my volunteers came up to me before I went on stage, and they handed me a note that we had gotten from a student at a local high school. And the note said, and I read it out loud to the crowd, it said, "I wanted to be there with you all today, but my parents told me I couldn't come." And it just breaks my heart. At home, these kids are struggling with this. And so these issues aren't over. And it just kind of, to a larger extent with queer rights, right? People think that we passed gay marriage through the courts and that we've advanced the issue. And we're in a better space now, but it touches us in so many ways. Queer people have the highest rates of homelessness. We have the highest rates of depression, of suicide. We really need to make sure that we're protecting people. And so that's what I think about when I look at my identity and what that means to people in the community and how much harder I have to work to make sure that I get these things done.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you for bringing the diversity there. You're doing a good job with that, especially you being the first and bringing somebody back on with you. That just speaks volumes right there. And that just makes anyone know that they can step in the shoes that you have already led a path for. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. It's an honor. It really is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Certainly. And coming up to our final question, let me know, Tyler, what are some of your favorite things about Monterey?
I don't, this is an interesting thing I think about quite often, because ever since I ran for office, so being in elected office, at least in my area, because our community is so small by population, being on council and being mayor is a part-time job. So I work a full-time job. What I do for fun is politics, is my second job. So
I feel
I
you
really
on that.
do enjoy it. It is a lot of work. But it's really what I do. But I do have a partner. My partner and I, as I said earlier, we bought our house in 2017. And then we have our little dog, Sasha. I should have shared you guys a picture with Sasha, but she's the cutest little dog. So what we like to do is, because once the day starts for me, it's kind of hard to find time to do things for us. So we get up really early every morning around 4:30 and we go for Monique was like, oh, what? Yes, we get up every morning really early. And what's great about it too is like, usually I can't leave the house without people recognizing me and saying something. And then, it's hard for him because it's like, that's our time to be together. And I can't necessarily turn somebody down from wanting to have a conversation. So getting up that early, the sun's not even up yet. We go for a walk. It's about 6-7 miles with our dog along the coast, which we have a beautiful rec trail that takes you along the coast. It's so beautiful and wonderful. I mean, I really do encourage folks to come out here and check it out. It's such a beautiful place. So we walk along the coast and then we walk back home, come back, have our coffee. So I really treasure those moments. We try not to be on our cell phone. So it's really just a time for us. We have a lot of beautiful trails in the area. So we have right south of us is Big Sur, beautiful coastal trails. So when people think about driving on the one, you're driving along the cliff. That's right south of where we are. It is absolutely beautiful. I think today they were going to open it back up, but we've had some rain and there was some rocks sliding down the side there. So they closed it for a second.
Oh gosh.
So you got to be careful, but it's so beautiful. And then if you go inland from there, there's just all these trails. When you climb up to the top of the mountains, you have this beautiful view of the coastline. It is just so beautiful there. As I was saying earlier, we have the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which is world renowned. It's one of the best aquariums in the world. I would argue the best aquarium in the world. So there's so much fine dining here. If you think about the hospitality industry and just all the people coming from all over the world. So there's just different cultural foods. We're considered the language capital of the world because we have the Defense Language Institute here. It's an Army installation. They train military personnel on how to learn languages. So you have a lot of diversity there. We have a graduate school called Middlebury Institute of International Studies, or what we call MISS for short. That brings a lot of international students in. My day job, I work at the Naval Postgraduate School. We have a partnership with the Department of Homeland Security, and it's a way of us developing partnerships with other countries from around the world. And so they bring international students here to participate and interact with military personnel and civilian personnel from the United States. So a lot of diversity here. And so, I think there's a lot of great opportunity as we move forward ahead. And I'm just super honored to be serving as mayor and really looking at moving Monterey forward, which is my campaign slogan. And it's not about doing anything crazy. I think we have a lot of great bones here. Monterey is actually where our state constitution was written. There was talks about putting the state capital here. It was the capital of the area when it was owned by Mexico and Spain. So there's a lot of history here, a lot of culture. I want to make sure that we can preserve that. And we do that by making sure that we can take care of our community and think about this long-term into the future. So yeah, politics is my number one baby.
Yes.
Awesome.
It's hard to get out of that. Yes.
It is. I to hear so many good things about Monterey. You are lucky to now serve as the mayor of such a beautiful and wonderful space. Now, if people wanted to get in contact with you, learn more about you, follow you, and keep up with whatever you're doing, how are they able to do that?
Yeah, so my website is tylerformonterey.org, and that's Tyler with 2 L's. As you can see, I have 2 L's in my name, but even if you forget the second L, we have the domain for the 1 L. So
there you go.
There's no excuse. tylerformonterey.org. We got everything. We're checking all the boxes. And you can also email me at my city email address. It's tyler@monterey.org. That has 2 L's in it. That one doesn't have 1 L. I'm trying to work on that. But You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I try to be as accessible as possible. So please reach out to me if you ever have any feedback, input, or if you just want to strike up a conversation, just say hello. I'd love to hear from you. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So all the viewers here, please look at the description below for the links.
Thank you so much, Tyler.
Yes, Tyler, it was so awesome having you. You've been wonderful, guys.
Thank you. It was nice talking with you all. I appreciate your all's conversation here, and I hope to do it again with you guys soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
We look forward to it.
Thanks.
Have a good one. To those watching, please follow Team Rayceen on social media and subscribe to the Team Rayceen YouTube channel.
And click around our YouTube channel and check out our other interviews, blogs, forums, and more. And make sure you like and comment.
And most of all, viewers, thank you for watching.